Hey everyone, Melissa with Sagebrush Wellness coming to you here. And I am so excited to be able to do this interview with you, Allyson. So I want people to really lean into this with us today because we're going to be talking about some big questions and answers. And I would love, first of all, for you to just introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, where you live, all of that fun stuff.
Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me today. It's such a pleasure to speak with you again. I just love it. So I'm actually coming to you from Melbourne, Australia, so the other side of the planet.
Love.
Look, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2005.
Mhm.
I completed my PhD in analytical research at Deakin University. I have a diploma in project management. I have been a speaker at the Symptom Free MS Summit last year and will be again this year. I've been on Ticker News. I presented at the Virtual Disability Expo in Australia a few years ago. I absolutely love my husband. He's a beautiful man, so we have a lot of fun together.
Love.
And I'm the director at Everheal and creator of the Life Formula program. So that's just a little snapshot of me.
I love that. I love that. So, talking about all of this, you have to have a a driving reason why you do this. So, let's talk a little bit about your health journey.
Yeah, so it's probably a little bit sort of different to a lot of people's that go through like a natural healing process. Mine didn't start up out that way at all. I was on disease modifying therapies for 15 years after my diagnosis. So I started, straight away because they said that's the best way to keep you stable.
True.
And over the course of that 15-year period, I had almost 20 relapses despite being on that harmful medication. And, it left damage to my body, which obviously is difficult to repair. But yeah, I was diagnosed in the second year of my PhD research. So, I had a lot of stress at the time. It was a lot kind of to get my PhD done with fatigue and just brain fog and trying to kind of work through it. But I managed to finally finish it and get it done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been quite a journey. I've worked in various government organisations in analytical based roles a lot of the time, so I really needed my brain to kind of switch on. And yeah, that all sort of changed in 2018 when I had a relapse that affected my brain and energy.
Mhm. Yeah. Wow.
Yep. So I ended up having to take a fair few months off work because I couldn't even work out what 8 divided by 2 was one day. That was like one of my worst moments. And I had to ask my husband, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, what is 8 divided by 2? And I knew that it was simple. I knew that it was a child's calculation. But when I searched my brain for the answer, I was like, nothing's coming to me. Maybe just write it down. Write it down, and then you'll work it out. Wrote it down, and I was like, there's nothing. It was like, if there's little worker bees happening that are meant to like give you the answer to things, there was just nobody working that day. Like it was just blackness.
Wow.
And I knew that like something was seriously wrong going from an analytical role where you're doing kind of complex things to you can't even work out what 8 divided by 2 was. Like I knew something was really wrong with my brain.
Yeah. 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 So
Yeah. And I,
was that kind of your
sorry.
turning point or kind of your like, oh my goodness?
That was when I really started to kind of know that something wasn't right. But my turning point would be so I took months off work and just, was in this broken body, like just trapped like a prisoner in my own body. And I would, it's almost like you feel like it's almost in your brain, like just in your head, like you're not really that fatigued. Like go do some artwork or go do something. And you'd get up off the couch and you'd be like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you'd go sit down. Like I'm exhausted. I just got up and now I can't even move. I'm exhausted. I need to go sit back down. So I spent months just like a prisoner on the couch, just binge watching Netflix.
Yeah.
And I remember one day it was my worst moment. And I remember I was just kind of like staring blankly like a zombie out the window. But this thought entered my mind, and it was like, this is as good as it's going to be, Allyson. Like, if you can't work out how to get better, this miserable existence that you're living right now is as good as your life will ever be. It will only get worse from here. And that terrified me because it was such an awful existence. Like, I had anxiety and depression. I had no ability to think straight, and, no energy. And I couldn't actually even find joy in a lot of things that, I was trying to do either, because you're just in such a dark place. And I was kind of like, oh my God, I've got to do something. I don't know what, but I've got to try something else because this isn't working.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, that
Oh.
was my worst moment.
So what happened next? What did you choose to do next? What did you kind of lean into next?
So I remember reading about, Dr. Terry Walls and
Yes.
the Walls Protocol, like a fair few years ago. I had tried once before to eat paleo and somehow just fell back into my old habits. But I remember sort of going like, well, maybe I should give the diet thing another try.
Mm,
Maybe I'll try that just so I can rule it out, to tell people, no, I tried that and it didn't work. Like,
yep.
that's what I felt like. That was the, yeah, I've ticked it off the list. I've done everything that I can, right? And so I like reluctantly started doing it. And I was in such a dark place that, I knew that I would want to quit, that I would want to cheat, that I didn't want to be doing this. I wasn't happy about it. Like, that the the sugar and the junk food that I was eating gave me this shred of happiness every
Exactly.
day. I was just like clinging to that. And I thought, I can't give that up. Like, I was in such a dark place. I was actually undergoing some pain management treatment and stuff at a local hospital as well. And as part of that, they had a psychologist that you could talk to about getting on track and everything. So I was seeing a psychologist to sort of just help with my mindset, because, it was really dark. It was not wanting to kind of, think anything happy and
Yep.
really get motivated or anything like that. So that kind of helped because I felt a little bit accountable. Plus, I
Yep.
started doing, I'd get my phone out and I'd sit it on my bench top, and then I would start talking. I'd do like little video blogs going, hi, Allyson, it's Allyson. How did you go this week? Did you stay on track? And how are you feeling? And all that stuff. Because I thought I need to try to just keep myself accountable. I don't know how, but I'll try it. And it took 3 months. And then I felt it. My energy came boosting back out of control. I felt like I was a teenager again. It was insane. And I remember getting the energy came back, my brain function came back. And it was like a switch went off, and I didn't have anxiety and depression anymore. I felt like me again for the first time in years. Like, it was incredible, but I was bloody confused
Yes.
because I was like, I don't understand. I don't get this. Like, all I did was change what I was eating. I need to figure out what's going on because I don't understand how that works. I tried all the medications that they told me to take, and nothing like even made a shred of difference. So that's why I put my analytical kind of hat on and started researching, and I found all this amazing information about functional medicine, about using food as medicine, about how food impacts our body function. And I was like, how did I not think of this before? How did I not realize? It was so obvious, but I didn't actually see the connection. And since then, my mind was blown, and that was it. I can't go back now. There's no way that I can go back to my old ways, because
Oh,
I know what's happening with my body, and I know the difference. And I know how bad it felt before and how
yep.
good I feel now. And I never want to go back there, because that's not a nice
Things
existence.
back there. Oh, girl, I love that story. So what do you think is the most important lesson that this journey has taught you?
Um, Certainly that the mainstream approach that we get told when we get diagnosed, we
Mhm.
get told, look, you have a chronic illness that you're going to live with for the rest of your life. You'll be on harmful immunosuppressants for the rest of your life. Um, Hopefully, you don't get a really bad, lot of relapses that make you end up in a wheelchair, but that could happen. You'll probably be in a wheelchair in 20 years' time. That's what I got told, if not sooner.
Mhm.
And yeah, good luck. Like that's sort of what we get told. Like you've got this chronic illness, you're gonna have to live with it. Not much you can do. I was in that. I feel like it's like a cattle kind of run where there's just cattle kind of going through this line.
Yep.
And I feel like that's our mainstream approach. And I was there. I was just like, radio, just do what I get told, and that's it. But I did it for 15 years and still got 20 relapses. Now I'm not getting relapses. I'm not on medications. I'm just using food as medicine. And oh goodness, like my neurologist scratches his head and he's like, so so you're just eating food, like you're just doing
Of
that. Like
course. Yes.
I'm confused. I don't understand. And I'm like, well, let's face it, autoimmune diseases are inflammatory conditions. So guess what? If you have an anti-inflammatory diet, that's going to have an impact, right? Even if you just think of it as that simple kind of level, of course it's going to have an impact. What I didn't ever realize was the food that I was eating, basically, the food we're eating is either fueling our body or fueling the disease, right? It's either fueling the body or fighting against the disease kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I never realized that all I was doing was putting more fuel on the fire of inflammation and disease
Yeah.
that led to my condition. Um, and the best part is that when I realized this, and I stumbled across this answer, like I stumbled across it. It wasn't that I got a diagnosis and I'm like, right, straight away I'm onto eating clean because I'm not going on medications. And I know a lot of people do that. And that's wonderful. I love that they do that. But I didn't have the foresight to be able to do that. I was trapped in the system for 15 years. And then I finally came out of the cattle run and went, oh my God, there's another way. And it's so much better and so much more like fulfilling. I never realized, like, oh my God, if people could only realize that there is some other things that you can do that can impact your health that aren't just medication, 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 that in the long run, like that's doing your body damage. I've got a lumbar spine that's borderline osteoarthritic now
Ah,
because of the steroid treatments that I had to have for those
oh,
20 relapses. Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like there's consequences for those as well. So yeah, if only I had have realized that there was this other way that you could do things and that mindset is a big part of it, particularly if you're on the fence of going like, righty, I think I'm willing to try something now. I'm not sure. Give it a
Mm.
go. Give it a go because you never know what can happen. You do usually need some help to stay on track because staying on track is really hard, particularly when you've got 30 years of sugar and junk food addiction like
Yep.
I did. That's really hard to break by yourself, but with some guidance and some support, um, it's absolutely possible. And yeah, it's amazing.
Huge difference.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the food that we eat, these are the building blocks for our body's everyday function and reactions that happen. And there's, trillions of reactions that happen in our body. And if we're not putting the right food in, which is the building blocks, our body is going, I don't know what that is, but that's not the building blocks that I need to create this reaction. Yeah, it's such a simple concept, but I just never realized.
Yeah. I love that. So I know what you do, but nobody else does yet. So how have you leaned into this learning and really used it to craft what you do and how you serve people?
So a few years ago, I created my business, Everheal, because I know how tough it was for me to make those changes when I was, I was eating sort of the modern Western diet, which is, pretty much the sad diet that you guys call the
Yeah.
standard American diet. And it's just like, it's so inflammatory for our bodies. And I was kind of in that trap. How do
Right.
you get out of that by yourself? How do you go through the cravings and go through the withdrawals and go through this huge transition
Yeah.
without knowing what you're doing and how to get there and be the support that you need for yourself, because it's tough. It's really tough. And look, 95% of people fail because they just try it alone, they don't get the support they need, and then they fall off the wagon because it gets tough, right? So what I do is I help people make that transition and give them the support, give them the guidance, give them the meal plans and recipes and weekly coaching sessions to help people feel like there's a little bit of accountability and a little bit of support and a little bit of motivation, because
Yep.
that can make the difference between success and failure. And yeah, I mean, I run some little group coaching sessions just for a real introductory kind of offer as well. So that's like just a 1 month program. So they get a little bit of an intro, they get the weekly coaching sessions as well. And that's just a bit of a taster basically for my signature program, which is the Life Formula program. And that's a 3 month program because it took me 3 months to heal, to start seeing benefits, right? And this is one of the things when I've looked it up, it takes your body about that long sometimes to actually start seeing some runs on the board. And
Yep.
3 months is a long time to do it alone without seeing benefits like I did and just going like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? You want to be able to see benefits. But if you know, right, you're getting coaching, you're being told like, just keep at it, you'll start to see benefits. Honestly, everybody that's leaned into the program and it's like made the changes and committed to it, they
Yep.
see benefits on or before that 3 month period. And when they get the support and the guidance, like it just makes such a big difference. And I'm big on education as well, because when I made changes back in, I think it was about 2013, after I had a bad relapse in 2013, I
Ooh.
did change my diet to paleo, as I mentioned. And I started eating paleo. I started to walk again
Okay,
because
I found
was
this on the web for, as I mentioned, yeah. Check it out.
Siri, stop.
hi Siri.
Gosh. Siri, stop. Okay, whatever. Continue. Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, so I did make some changes back then, but I didn't know that it was having any impact. So I was walking with a walking stick at that time, and I made changes and somehow got my leg function back, started feeling good again, and then fell back into my old habits because I didn't know. I didn't know that it was actually impacting my body. But now I've learned this, and now I package it up into information that's just like easy for people to digest, going, okay, well, that makes sense. Like, okay, food is our fuel, right? So I teach people like the fundamentals that they need to know so they can make that transition as well. And people just see amazing benefits, which is so good. It's so rewarding. I love it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So I'm really happy you mentioned the fact that you did really good and your body really responded, and then you went back and your body was like, hello.
I know, it was such a wake up
Or-
point, but I didn't realize at the time. I never made the connection. But retrospectively, I've actually graphed my relapses because when I was diagnosed, I kept an MS diary. I was part of or I am part of an MS study here in Australia, and so they're always asking like, "What date did you start that medication? What date did you stop that medication? When did you have your last scan?" All these questions that I'm like, I can't remember. So I kept an MS diary so that I could easily just go, rightio, started that medication, then did this.
Yeah.
And so I retrospectively graphed my relapses, and you can easily see like early on, it was a lot of stress, a lot of relapses. Then it starts to stabilize a bit. Then when I started my diet, no relapses. Then when I stopped my diet, a relapse. Then when I started my diet again now, no relapses. Like, it's just so obvious to me now, seeing it that way.
I love that. Oh, I love that. So, how do people contact you? Maybe they've been listening to us and they're like, okay, I tried that. I couldn't do it myself. I need help. How do they contact you? What does this look like?
So they can reach out to me via email at info@everheal.com.au. They can find me on Facebook as Allyson Brown or Everheal. They can also join. I've got a free Facebook group that I run as well to give some little tips and some, information that might help people, which is under facebook.com/groups/autoimmune diet. So they can find me in a number of different channels or even via Messenger as well. But yes, I'm more than happy to have a chat with people if they're interested in either the group program for a month, like a bit of a taster just to get started, or the sort of immersive transformational 90-day program as well. Yeah, it just makes such a difference to have a helping hand to get to that other side. And the other side is worth it. Totally worth it.
Oh, worth it.
Yeah. I'm converted. I'm no longer in the cattle run
True.
anymore.
Me too. Oh, golly. Yeah. So if you don't mind, could you send me those 4 different ways to contact you, like the links and stuff, and I'll include them with this chat so people can just click on them and it makes it real easy. Can you do that
Yeah,
for
easy done for sure.
Awesome. So before we wrap up, I want to just lean in with you just a moment. What is the one thing that you would just open your heart and say to the person who is struggling with MS, with, you name it, autoimmune condition, and they're going, okay, I hear you. I hear you so much, but will this work for me? Or is this something that I can actually lean into for myself? What would you say to that person?
I would say just give it a try because you never know what can happen. You do need to give it 3 months though. And, if you're making gradual changes, which is totally fine, you're totally allowed to just do it little bit by little bit, which we do in the program as well. You don't have to do everything all at once. But you will start to see changes over a 3-month kind of period, and that's a long time to just start doing it by yourself and just going, all right, I'm just waiting.
Yeah.
So getting some guidance to be able to do it. But honestly, if you think about the fundamentals of using food as medicine, like food is our fuel,
Mhm.
and it's like putting the wrong fuel into our car. If we put the wrong fuel into our bodies, our body doesn't work right, the same as our car wouldn't. If we put diesel fuel into an unleaded car,
Oh,
it
that's a
won't work.
disaster.
Right? So
Yep.
that's what we're doing when we're putting those
Yeah.
inflammatory foods into our body. We're basically putting the wrong fuel into our car and it's not functioning properly. So just go back to those basic kind of principles. I know it seems so simple. I know it seems like ridiculously simple. How do you fix an autoimmune disease? Oh, just fix your diet, right? It seems too simple. But honestly, don't be afraid to lean into that because what I've seen and what you have seen like a million times over is that people do have an impact, like a huge impact on their health. And it's just once you feel the changes, you'll never want to go back,
It's
ever.
addicting. It's seriously addicting. Being well feels really good.
Yeah. Nothing tastes as good as healthy feels.
Oh,
That's
I
definitely
love
true.
that.
Yeah. And I was addicted to junk foods and sugar for sure. And I still believe that. I loved sugar and junk foods, but I still believe nothing tastes as good as healthy feels.
Oh, so much. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your heart today. Thank you.
You're so welcome. It's such a pleasure to talk with you. I always love our little chats together.
I
It's
know,
always
I love it
nice.
too. Oh, you guys, if you're sitting here listening and you're like, okay, I need to do that. I need to do that for me. Please do. Please do. Don't hold back because, and just like you were saying, Allyson, and I've experienced the same thing. It's a pivotal point when you go, okay, I'm going to give it a shot, and you really lean in and you just walk down the path and see how your body responds. And I love that you really lean into the 3-month period. Like, let's do this for 3 months because guys, this is what it takes.
I know
Like,
it feels like a sacrifice. Like it feels like hard work, right? Because when we're
yeah,
not well, we want instant results. Like I want to feel better now, right? And I totally hear you. But
totally.
in order to get to that spot, like it just doesn't happen overnight. If we think about the damage that we've done to our bodies, the damage that's sustained, that can't happen. That can't just fix quickly, right? It's going to take. It took years to get there, so it's going to take a little while to reverse it as well. So just have to give it that try. Yeah.
Yep. And give yourself grace and have a little patience. Yeah, it's worth it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Allyson. And I'll put your information in here in links so that people can, it makes it really easy for them to contact you. And have an absolutely amazing rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Melissa. As I say, it's always a pleasure to speak with you, and I'd be more than happy to chat with anybody who's interested in just finding out more as well.
I love that. I love that. Take care, my dear. I'm sure we'll be chatting again. We seem to have a habit going on.
Absolutely. A
All
good
right.
habit.
Enjoy your day.